driving like a complete maniac, so close there to that vehicle making that turn. Very, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, yeah. Northbound. Wow. Yeah,
attempt by the deputies. There was a pit maneuver attempt. That didn't do much damage, if any, to this vehicle. Looks like a Jeep, by the way. And then since then, a more aggressive behavior from this driver. And now we have just seen so many near misses. Another busy intersection, turning right, West 39th Street and South Broadway.
So this driver is somewhat closer to the 110 freeway, but choosing, obviously, to stay on these surface streets. Dennis, you know, I'm wondering, because of the bizarre behavior of going from a slow speed pursuit, a bang, oh my gosh, almost a hit there. Do you think this driver could be under the influence of something, the way their behavior has changed so drastically?
Well, the driving is not really erratic. I mean, it's speed, it's unsafe, it's excessive, but they're controlled the vehicle. As you see, the way they're driving, negotiating the turns and going through traffic, I wouldn't think that they'd be under the influence with that type of driving pattern. They're driving fast. They obviously want to get away, but it's not indicative of someone under the influence, which sometimes they slow down. Their movement is slower. In this particular case, a GTA, and they just want to elude capture, so they're doing what they can do to try and get away. But sometimes that driving pattern, as we see, avoiding collisions and driving in a manner that's unsafe and then fast, but they're in control of the vehicle. That's the key, is that they're in control of that vehicle. Yeah. And it's going to be eventual, if this continues for a length of time, someone's going to be colliding with that vehicle eventually, or they're going to collide with an innocent person, one or the other. Just inevitable continuation of this pursuit is going to cause that to happen.
Well, I don't see any sheriff's deputies' vehicles trailing, but that could just be because our shot is tight. But as we zoom in again, we do see a little bit of the driver there. Again, we have identified this person as a male just from an earlier close-up shot, and that person, the driver, looked like he was smoking something. But this could be a case where just the risk to public safety that they have decided to back off, and that's maybe why. Go ahead, Dennis.
That's what it looks like. I mean, we do have a chopper overhead, and that's the key, is you want that chopper to keep control of that and direct the ground units. But if the driving gets excessive, that's what the standard is. Back off and don't get innocent people injured. As long as you got a bird overhead, that helicopter can do the job and transfer to the ground units. Transit to the ground units, exactly what location, what's happening with it, and they'll be in that area. They're close by in the vicinity. They're just not right on the tail of the vehicle, because that's the consideration. If they back off, then the driving pattern will slow down, be not as erratic, safer for the vehicle fleeing. That's the logic behind it. It doesn't always work, but at least they're going to hopefully keep innocent people from getting hurt, struck by this vehicle or a collision. That's the ultimate concern, is to protect. And I can't emphasize over and over, public safety, that's the key that they're emphasizing on pursuits. They terminate the pursuit before you're going to risk public safety. And in this particular case, as we see, the driving is 60 miles an hour in an area where we've got vehicles, we've got driveways, we've got crosswalks, we've got everything you can imagine, especially at this hour, which is just like a minute after 5:30. What we have is a situation where they want to apprehend, they want to get that car, but they don't want anyone to get hurt in the process. So they have to weigh it, they have to balance it. But as long as you got a chopper overhead, that chopper will continually negotiate onto the
train tracks, onto the metro, right? Going across?
Yeah, it looked like that driver was trying to get around a bus, so went onto those train tracks, now back onto the streets of San Pedro Street. While we watch this, we want to show you the attempt at the spike strip. And right there, you saw it there on the right of your screen there, they threw that spike strip out there. Dennis was telling us it looks like it maybe did not work because that driver has picked up speeds and continued on. And then there was a pit maneuver that didn't really work either, kind of just tapped the car a little bit, and then the driver got back in the right direction and is able to continue on with this high-speed pursuit now on surface streets. Sometimes those streets have been really narrow. This is more of a business street. You see the bus there and businesses there on your right. You've seen people there on the sidewalks. But 70 miles per hour going down South San Pedro Street here. That driver flying, and we've seen this driver now go through red lights. Right there. Here's another one. Almost encountering other cars, and just this behavior that this driver thinks they're going to ditch these helicopters, I think. That's not possible. But if we catch him,
no,
we'll see.
That's not going to happen. They're not going to ditch the helicopter. We've seen some type of evasive moves they do sometimes, but the helicopter is going to remain overhead. And if they call in for another helicopter, they'll do that if they start running low on fuel. But they want to apprehend this individual and get that car in custody. But again, they don't want anyone injured. They want to do a safe apprehension. And I would venture to say this is not the first time this individual's been involved in GTA. Just because of the way they're trying to flee the scene, and they're persistent in what they're doing.
GTA stands for Grand Theft Auto, and it's hard to see if the passenger side windows are down as well.
I can't tell.
Not that that would denote really anything. It's just curious. And then obviously, you know, they have tinted windows in the back, it looks like. Again, our best guess is a Jeep. Now we're at Wall Street and East 6th Street downtown. So we've gone from South Los Angeles to downtown, where it can be very congested, especially this time at night, 5:30. We're nearing the bottom of the hour. We just did. And you wonder, Dennis, if this driver is just driving until he thinks he can get away, or he has a destination in mind.
It doesn't look like the driver knows where they're going. It looks like just aimlessly driving, trying to evade the sheriff's department, the sheriff's deputies. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't look like they're going to a specific location. They're just driving, trying to elude. But if you look out that window, you're going to find a helicopter overhead. That helicopter's not going to go away. That will stay with this vehicle until this concludes. And there's other tactics that the officers could use, but again, they want to emphasize public safety and the jeopardy to the public, especially with the driving pattern that this individual is doing with the high-speed driving in a populated area at this time of the evening.
Yeah. Well, this is a whole new concern right now in this area of downtown L.A. This is kind of the Skid Row area. You saw some tents and people that were living on the streets there at one point, which means there are a lot more pedestrians perhaps out there, a lot more people there on the sidewalk or even in the middle of the road. And you have this driver making moves like that at high speeds. It takes on a whole new danger when you think of all the people there that are out and about in downtown L.A. Dennis?
Very, very hazardous, Christine. Very, very hazardous. And as we see, the individual really doesn't know where they're going. They're just making right turn, left turn, going straight. They have no idea where they're going.
Yeah, Dennis, you're going to see in just a couple of seconds, there was a near miss at another intersection, East 9th Street and Town Avenue, as this driver is just literally, seemingly going in a circle. In downtown Los Angeles, left turn, right turn, doesn't matter, just to get away. But the other thing is, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I haven't seen any trailing deputy vehicles.
Well, that's because of the driving pattern and the speed. Again, they're doing a tracking mode. This is now in a tracking mode where they're close by, but they're giving that person room to hopefully stop and believe that the deputies are not that close. So the tactic is to back off, let the helicopter continue to broadcast the location, and the units can converge quickly. But when the deputies are right behind, that's a problem for the sometimes the driver.
We are watching this driver in the wrong lanes, going the wrong direction. There are not a lot of cars out right now, but some of these areas, the businesses do close around 5 o'clock. The Garment District, you have the Flower Mart, some of those locations. Lots of people in the street. They're right there.
Blowing through the crosswalk, and those pedestrians had to step back, otherwise they were going to become victims of this stolen car pursuit there. To your point, Christine, all of the business in the Garment District and the Flower Mart down there, very busy, especially this time of night.
Wrong side of roadway, hazardous driving, high speed, you name it, and this individual is doing it. Everything that they can do to put jeopardy to the general public. That's exactly what they're doing, jeopardizing the general public.
Well, so many people have gone shopping down in the Santee Alley area, so this is kind of the area that we're looking at that has all those shops, a lot of parking garages there that we're probably looking at right now. People could be coming out of work, leaving those businesses at this hour, not quite in the part of downtown where you have the LAPD or the government buildings just yet. But you can see that this driver has no concern for people on the streets, for pedestrians, for other motorists. And that's the scary part too, Dennis, the mindset of this driver.
That's true. Willful and want disregard for people and property. That's exactly what they're displaying, the willful and want disregard. So they don't care if they hurt someone, if they run over someone, if they hit another vehicle or hit a building. They just don't care. That's what's defined as the willful and wanton disregard. So they're clearly displaying that as this continues. I don't know exactly what time it started, but we're looking at what's 5:40, almost 5:40, and it's continuing. It doesn't seem to be stopping. And again, you don't see the deputies close behind because they're in the tracking mode, getting directions from the air unit overhead.
Okay, so we're hearing now that the driver actually jumped out of the car and into a nearby building. That's why Sky Fox is up and hovering over. This is East 12th Street and Santee Street. And so now that the pursuit vehicle portion of it has come to an end, now the driver reportedly has gotten out, jumped into a nearby building. So we'll see the response, though, Dennis, from LA County Sheriff's deputies.
Well, they'll respond with their units. They'll also notify LAPD, and that's LAPD jurisdiction, so they'll cooperate, apprehend this individual. Once this individual goes into a large building, there's no telling, they don't have a description of the individual. How are they going to find this individual? That's the other problem. Once they bail into a large structure, if the building's vacant, if it's occupied with a lot of people, then that's very difficult to identify. But they got fingerprints in the car. They recover the stolen car. They got the fingerprints. They'll be able to identify. And I'm sure this person's been arrested in the past. It's probably not a first-time offender. So, but the sheriffs will do whatever kind of search they can do. But those tall buildings, they're not going to bring an army in to search. They'll do what they can. And, again, they got the car in custody, so they'll recover that, and they can get fingerprints to identify the driver that was in the car at the particular time of the pursuit. And then LAPD will assist any way they can.
So we've got a great shot right now where that suspect bailed at Santee Street and 12th Street downtown. This is the Fashion District, and if you know it well, you know there are those big high-rise buildings where a lot of designers have their little showrooms there. But there are also those shops along the street, and a lot of those shops, though, close around 5 o'clock, so a lot of those may not be open, but some of those office buildings might still be open. There's a lot of garages there to hide. I mean, Dennis, the reality is this suspect could very well just blend in with somebody there and just walk away.
Well, that's true to one aspect, but the other is there's a lot of video down there. There's a lot of video on the buildings, and they'll look at the video and apprehend from that if they can identify. So many of those buildings have video at the entrance. A lot of those buildings and the parking lots, et cetera, there's video. So the investigators will pursue that aspect. Again, we got a felony, GTA, erratic driving, et cetera. They're not just going to say, well, the person gets away, we're going to forget about it. They'll do what they can on investigation. And again, all those buildings that did video, they'll go and they'll look at those. They want to identify this person. And I would venture to guess this is not the first time this person's been involved in a situation, illegal activity.
Well, Dennis Zine, we're going to leave it right there, but we thank you so much for guiding us through this latest stolen car pursuit that ended in downtown Los Angeles, right next to Fashion Alley. We will continue to watch this from Sky Fox and bring you any updates as soon as we learn if the suspect is taken into custody. We're thankful that no one on the ground was hurt, given how dangerous that pursuit got. Dennis, thanks so much.
You.
We were just watching that